Okay, art students, we're going to do a short little lesson here to help us prepare for our oil pastel project. And in this lesson, you're going to take your paper, you're going to divide it up into several different areas. And you want to make sure you have quite a few so that you can practice blending a variety of colors. Within each section, you're going to have the base color or the hue. So for instance, right here I have red. I've tinted it over here by adding white to it, and then I've shaded it over here, all right? You do not have to use black to shade your colors. As a matter of fact, I'd like for you to experiment with using the complementary color. So the complement of red is green, the complement of blue is orange, the complement of orange is blue, all right? So you're going to experiment with these. Remember, the complement is the color that is across from it on the color wheel. And if you have any questions, you can look at the color wheel in our classroom up towards the front of the room. So let's get started, and I'll kind of walk you through the steps so that you can get set up to go. The first thing, and one of the most important things, is that you need to have a large sheet of newspaper to work on. And the reason for that is that oil pastels can be really messy, and we want to contain our mess. So if we're working on newspaper, we shouldn't have very much cleanup at all, and it's also a safe place for us to store our work. We can simply wrap it inside our newspaper. We'll just close it up inside the newspaper, and we'll store it in our bin that way. Also a good idea to have a separate piece of scrap newspaper, just because sometimes the old oil pastels can be kind of dirty. And so to clean them off, all I have to do is just kind of rub it across a sheet of newspaper. You can also use paper towel for this, but those ads that come in the Sunday newspaper work pretty well. And then you can get a lot of that dirt and stuff off of your oil pastel. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing you need to do on your paper is to use a white pastel. I'm not going to use black for this, and I'll explain. We're going to put the black on at the end. We want to use white. So I'm going to take my oil pastel, and I'm going to create just a string or a series of lines across my paper. And so hopefully you can see those right there. Okay. Now within each section, I'm going to go ahead and color it. So I'm going to start with red, and you want to experiment with using a little bit of pressure here. So I'm going to use some red. Okay, color that area in. Don't be afraid to go over it. So here I am. I want to make sure all of my paper is covered. I don't want to see any paper showing through. There is a Crayola, it's a red violet, I think, and sometimes that one is a little tricky to use. It tends to peel up off the paper, but the other ones work pretty well. Also not necessary to use your fingers to smudge. As a matter of fact, I would say do not do that. It just makes a huge mess, and it's not necessary. Okay, so I have my base color of red down. I'm going to now go ahead with my white, and I'm going to add a tint to lighten it. So right on top, I'm adding my white, pressing down, and I'm going to lighten up my pressure as I pull it into the red. Okay, so up here, lots and lots of pressure, lots of white, and then where I want it to blend into the red, I'm going to lighten up on my pressure just a little bit. Okay, so that's looking pretty good right there. And I can go back over it again if I need more. I want to have that really smooth gradation. I don't want to see a distinct line between the values. I want it to be gradual. Okay, so that's good. So now over here, I'm going to go ahead and shade my red. I'm going to add a little bit of green because green is the complement. Okay, and when you're shading, a little bit goes a long way. So just a small little bit of green on there. And then to blend it in, I'm going to put my red on top, and I'm just going to pull it out a bit. Just on top, and I'm kind of pulling that green into the red. I'm going to go back over this red again, make sure everything is very gradual. Okay, so that's what you're going to do on your paper. You're going to fill the whole thing in. Try to use as many different colors as you can so that you get some practice tinting and shading each one of the colors. When you're done, you're going to have something like this with a lot of different colors. The very, very last step is to trace over your line with the black. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, why didn't we do the black first? The reason for that, and you can kind of see right here, what happens is that the black gets pulled into some of these other areas and it muddies them down a little bit. So we're going to draw our preliminary lines with white, and when we're done with absolutely everything, then we'll go back over it with black, and I'll just kind of do it here quickly. And if I do it at the end, I don't have to worry about the black line muddying up my other colors. Okay, also don't forget to put your name on the bottom of your paper and put your class period. Okay, so like first or second period, whichever class you're in. Okay.